You prevent others from twisting your words, from using your past against you, from manipulating your emotions. You create a boundary that says, I decide who gets access to my life. And that kind of self-control is something few people have, but everyone respects. People who overshare often do it because they want to be understood. They want to feel connected. They want to be seen. But the truth is, the more you share, the less people truly respect what you have to say. The more you reveal, the more people take your words lightly. But when you hold back, when you speak with purpose, when you choose your words carefully, people listen, they pay attention. They respect your presence because they know that when you do speak, it matters. Not everyone needs to know your struggles. Not everyone deserves access to your emotions. Not everyone is meant to carry the weight of your dreams. Choose wisely, move carefully, and never forget, the less they know, the safer you are. Here's the expanded segment for your speech. There's a certain strength in mystery, in holding back, in not letting people know your every thought, your every struggle, your every next move. The moment people think they have you figured out, they start placing limits on you. They start deciding what you're capable of, what you can and cannot do, how far you can go. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself living inside the box that others have built for you instead of walking in the fullness of your own potential. When people think they know you completely, they stop seeing your growth. They stop believing you can change. They stop expecting anything greater from you than what they already assume. That's why some of the greatest transformations happen in silence, away from the expectations and opinions of others. The less they know, the less they can limit you. The less they see, the less they can interfere with what you're becoming. You've seen it happen. Someone starts to rise, starts to evolve, starts to step into something bigger, and suddenly the voices come. You're not that kind of person. That's not who you are. You've never done anything like this before. And just like that, their words become a weight, an anchor pulling them back to who they used to be, not because they can't change, but because people refuse to let them. But when you move in silence, when you grow without announcing every step, there's no one to pull you back. There's no one to remind you of who you were when you've already stepped into who you're becoming. People think they want honesty, but the truth is, most don't know what to do with it. When you lay everything out, your fears, your struggles, your plans, people don't always take that information with care. Some will use it against you. Some will misunderstand it. Some will see only what they want to see, and instead of feeling free, you feel trapped by the expectations and opinions of others. That's why wisdom teaches restraint. It teaches us that not everything needs to be said, not everything needs to be explained, not everything needs to be shared. The more people know, the more they assume. The more they assume, the more they limit you. But when they don't know, when they can't predict your next move, when they aren't sure what's happening behind the scenes, that's when you have the advantage. That's when you have control. That's when you are free to grow, to change, to evolve without the weight of other people's perceptions holding you back. Some of the greatest victories happen in silence. The most powerful transformations take place in private. A seed doesn't announce when it's about to break through the soil. A warrior doesn't reveal every strategy before the battle. A builder doesn't invite critics into the blueprint stage. They wait. They move in wisdom. They allow the process to unfold without unnecessary interference. And when the time is right, they let the results speak for themselves. Let people wonder. Let them be uncertain. Let them assume. Because when they don't know what's coming, they can't prepare to stop it. When they can't predict your next step, they can't stand in your way. And when they don't know your limits, they have no choice but to watch in silence as you break past every single one. Here's the expanded segment for your speech. There's something powerful about being unknown, about keeping parts of yourself beyond reach, about moving through life without constantly giving explanations for who you are and what you do. The world has a way of demanding answers. Where you're going, what your next move is, why you made the choices you did. But you don't owe anyone that. The moment you start explaining yourself to everyone, you give them the power to question, to criticize, to dissect, and to redefine you on their terms instead of your own. People will always have opinions. They will always have something to say about the way you live your life. If you share too little, they'll call you secretive. If you share too much, they'll say you talk too much. If you succeed, they'll wonder if you deserve it. If you struggle, they'll question if you're strong enough. No matter what you do, someone will have an opinion. And the truth is, most of those opinions don't matter. Most of them come from people who don't understand your journey, who don't see the battles you fight, who don't carry the weight you carry. That's why you have to be careful with what you share. When you constantly explain yourself, when you feel the need to justify every decision, you are seeking permission from people who are never meant to guide your path. You are giving them space to question things they have no right to question. And once you start listening to their voices, it's easy to lose your own. You begin to doubt decisions that once felt right. You hesitate on moves you were once sure of. You start walking their way instead of your own. But life is not meant to be lived seeking approval. You don't need permission to follow your calling. You don't need validation to pursue what you know in your heart to be right. The people who truly matter, the ones who genuinely care, will support you without needing explanations. They will trust your decisions even when they don't fully understand them. And the ones who demand explanations, who insist on questioning every step, who make you feel like you owe them something, they were never meant to have that kind of access to your life in the first place. There's wisdom in silence. There's strength in keeping certain things private, because the moment you start explaining yourself to people, you give them influence over you. You allow their doubts to become your doubts, their fears to become your fears. You invite their opinions into places where they were never meant to have a say. And before you know it, you are living a life shaped by the expectations of others instead of the purpose placed inside of you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you dream the way you do. You don't have to justify why you're working towards something bigger, something greater. Some people will never understand your vision because it wasn't given to them, it was given to you. Some people will never see what you see because they don't have the perspective that you do. And that's okay. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were never meant to fit into the small minds of those who can't see beyond their own limitations. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking validation, when you stop feeling the need to justify every decision, you take back control. You walk in confidence. You move with purpose. And most importantly, you free yourself from the weight of other people's opinions. You become untouchable, not because you have all the answers, not because you never face challenges, but because you refuse to let anyone else dictate your path. So let them wonder. Let them talk. Let them make their own assumptions. Because at the end of the day, their opinions don't change the truth. And the truth is, you don't need their approval to be exactly who you were meant to be. They won't judge you based on fragments of information. They won't jump to conclusions because they heard one part of your story. They will see you, the real you, without the need for explanations. And those are the only opinions worth considering. The rest, let them wonder. Let them speculate. Let them create their own narratives while you continue living your truth in silence. Because at the end of the day, the only person who needs to fully understand your journey is you. Here's the expanded segment for your speech. Not everything needs to be spoken. Not every plan needs an audience. Not every dream needs validation. There's something powerful about keeping your ambitions to yourself, about moving in silence, about letting the results speak instead of the process. Too many people fail before they even begin, not because they aren't capable, but because they've shared their goals with the wrong crowd. The moment you tell people what you're working on, what you're building, what you're hoping to achieve, you invite opinions. Opinions that you never asked for. Some will doubt you. Some will discourage you, and some will pretend to support you while secretly hoping you fail. That's human nature. Not everyone will see what you see. Not everyone will believe in what you believe in. And that's okay, because they don't need to. Your vision was given to you, not them. Your purpose is yours to pursue, not theirs to understand. There are people who can dream beyond their circumstances, people who have settled for less, people who have convinced themselves that greatness is reserved for others. And when they hear you speak about big goals, when they see you aiming higher than they ever dared, it makes them uncomfortable. It reminds them of the risks they never took, the fears they allowed to control them, the dreams they buried long ago. And instead of confronting that within themselves, they project it onto you. They tell you to be realistic. They tell you it's impossible. They laugh, they doubt, they question. And if you're not careful, if you listen too closely, you start to believe them. Words are powerful. A single negative comment can plant a seed of doubt. A single moment of discouragement can make you hesitate. And hesitation is all it takes for a dream to fade. That's why you have to guard your ambitions. Protect them like a fragile flame that could be extinguished by the wrong wind. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. Not everyone has earned the right to know what you're working toward. The strongest moves are made in silence. The biggest transformations happen behind closed doors. Think about the people who have truly made an impact, who have achieved things that others once said were impossible. Did they announce every step? Did they seek approval before making their moves? No. They put their heads down, they worked, they built in private, and when the time was right, they let the world see the results. And by then it was too late for doubt to stop them. Success has a way of silencing critics. When you let your actions speak, when you let your results do the talking, there's no room for debate. But if you reveal your plans too soon, you give people the chance to talk you out of them before you even begin. You give them access to something they were never meant to hold influence over. And sometimes the loudest opposition comes from the people closest to you. Not because they don't love you, not because they want you to fail, but because their vision is limited, because they are speaking from their own fears, their own insecurities, their own experiences. But their experiences are not your destiny. That's why it's so important to move in silence, to work quietly, to build without broadcasting every brick you lay, because when you do, you give yourself the space to grow without interference, the freedom to make mistakes without an audience, the opportunity to evolve without explanation. You free yourself from the weight of expectations, from the pressure of having to prove yourself before you're ready. And when the time comes, when the work is done, when the dream has become reality, that's when you let them see. That's when you let them talk. Not before, not while the foundation is still being laid, not while the roots are still taking hold, because what they don't know, they can't discourage. What they can't see, they can't attack. What they don't expect, they can't stop. So keep your plans to yourself, keep your dreams guarded, move in silence, work in private, and let the results speak so loudly that no words are ever needed. Here's the expanded segment for your speech. Not everyone who listens to you has good intentions. Not everyone who smiles in your face wants to see you succeed. Some people only get close so they can learn what makes you tick, what makes you vulnerable, what they can use against you when the time is right. The more people know about you, the more power they have over you. And if you're not careful, you'll find yourself giving away the very things that others will use to control, manipulate, or break you. There are people in this world who don't need a reason to betray you. They just need an opportunity. They don't need to hate you. They just need to see an advantage in turning against you. And more often than not, that advantage comes from the information you've given them yourself. You shared your struggles, and now they know where to press when they want to see you weak. You shared your mistakes, and now they have the ammunition to discredit you when it benefits them. You opened up about your dreams, and now they know exactly how to discourage you. Some people aren't interested in understanding you. They're just gathering details, collecting information, waiting for the perfect moment to use what they know. And it doesn't always happen immediately. Sometimes it takes months, even years, before you realize that the person you confided in was never meant to hold your secrets. By then it's too late. Because once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. Once knowledge is shared, it can't be unlearned. And once someone has leverage over you, you're at their mercy. That's why wisdom tells us to be slow to speak, to be careful with what we share and who we trust. It's not about living in paranoia, it's about living with discernment. It's about understanding that not everyone who asks about your life is asking because they care. Some are asking because they're curious. Some are asking because they're looking for weaknesses. Some are asking because they want to position themselves ahead of you. And the more you share, the easier you make it for them. You don't owe anyone your story. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are never meant to be part of your journey. The ones who genuinely care about you will never demand access to your private struggles. They will support you without needing every detail. And the ones who pressure you to reveal more, who try to guilt you into being an open book, those are the ones you need to be wary of. Because real friends, real allies, real supporters don't need to know everything to stand by you. If you pay attention, you'll notice that the most powerful people, the most respected leaders, the most successful individuals all have one thing in common. They are selective with their words. They are careful with their trust. They don't allow just anyone to have access to their thoughts, their emotions, their vulnerabilities. They understand that privacy is protection, that the less people know, the less control they have, and that silence is sometimes the greatest form of wisdom. When you keep certain things to yourself, you maintain control over your own narrative. There's something powerful about privacy. In a world where people broadcast their every move, where personal lives are put on display for likes and validation, the ones who truly hold power are those who know when to stay silent. See, the moment you start revealing too much about yourself, you give people something to analyze, something to judge, something to use. The less they know, the less they can control, and that is what gives you an advantage. People have a way of turning what you tell them into their own story about you. They take your words, your experiences, and shape them into their own perceptions. The problem is their perception is rarely the truth. It's built on their own biases, their own insecurities, their own misunderstandings, and once that perception is created, it's nearly impossible to change. You could be the most honest person in the world, but if the wrong person hears something out of context, they'll twist it into a version that suits their narrative. So why give them anything to work with in the first place? Look around and you'll see that the people who are the most respected, the most untouchable, the most in control, those are the ones who don't speak unnecessarily. They don't share their every thought, every struggle, every success. They move in silence. They let their actions do the talking. When people don't know much about you, they can't predict you, they can't categorize you, and they can't limit you. But the moment you start revealing too much, you give them permission to define you. Some people don't share for fear of judgment, and that's understandable. But more importantly, it's about maintaining control over your own story. When you keep things to yourself, you decide what parts of your life deserve an audience. You decide who gets access and who doesn't. You decide what is sacred and what is public, and that is power. Have you ever noticed that the more you share, the more people feel entitled to have an opinion about you? You tell them about your struggles, and suddenly they become experts on your life, telling you what you should and shouldn't do. You share your dreams, and now they feel the need to tell you whether those dreams are realistic. You let them in on your personal battles, and before you know it, they're spreading your business as gossip. Not everyone who listens is listening with good intentions. Some are just collecting information. That's why wisdom teaches us to be careful with our words. It teaches us that speaking less isn't about hiding. It's about choosing. Choosing what deserves to be known and what deserves to remain yours. Choosing who has earned your trust and who hasn't. Choosing whether someone is asking because they care or because they're just curious. There's a difference between being secretive and being wise, and the wise understand that not everything needs to be spoken. Think about how much unnecessary pain people bring into their lives just because they shared too much with the wrong person. Friendships have been broken, opportunities have been lost, reputations have been damaged, all because of words spoken in the wrong company. And the worst part, once something is out there, you can't take it back. You can apologize, you can clarify, you can try to explain, but the damage is done. People remember what they want to remember. Even when people mean well, even when they seem trustworthy, not everyone is equipped to handle what you share. Some people lack the depth to understand your struggles. Others don't have the discipline to keep your words confidential. And some, without even realizing it, will take what you tell them and pass it along like it's just another piece of conversation. So why risk it? Why hand over your power so easily? The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the ones who know when to remain quiet. They are the ones who understand that privacy isn't weakness, it's protection. They are the ones who have mastered the art of keeping what matters most within. Because what people don't know, they can't ruin. What they don't see, they can't attack. What they can't figure out, they can't use against you. And when the time comes for you to speak, let your words be measured, let them be intentional, let them hold weight, because when you rarely speak, when you don't reveal everything about yourself, when you keep people guessing, your words become valuable. They become something people lean in to hear. They become something people respect. So don't be so quick to let people in. Don't be so eager to share everything about yourself. Move with wisdom, move in silence, and watch how much more control you have over your life. Here's the expanded segment for your speech. People are quick to judge. That's just how the world works. The moment you open your mouth, the moment you let people in on your thoughts, your struggles, your dreams, your mistakes, they form opinions. And once an opinion is formed, it's hard to change. That's why it's so important to be mindful of what you share, who you share it with, and when you choose to reveal certain things about yourself. You see, people don't judge you based on who you really are. They judge you based on what they think they know. And the problem is what they think they know is often incomplete, biased, or entirely wrong. They take a single moment, a single statement, a single choice, and they define you by it. They don't see the full picture. They don't understand the context, but that doesn't stop them from making up their minds about you. And once they do, they spread their version of you to others. Now, instead of being seen for who you really are, you're being viewed through the lens of someone else's misunderstanding. How many times have you seen someone's name get dragged through the mud because of a single mistake? How many times have people been reduced to one bad decision, one misunderstood action, one wrong word taken out of context? In today's world, people are quick to label, quick to assume, quick to condemn, and they don't always do it out of malice. Sometimes it's just human nature. People love to categorize. They love to simplify others into neat little boxes that make sense to them. But you are not a box. You are not one moment, one story, one chapter of your life. That's why you have to be careful. The more people know about you, the more material they have to create a version of you that may not even be true. Share too much about your struggles, and some will see you as weak. Talk too much about your success, and some will call you arrogant. Open up about your dreams, and some will laugh at you, not because your dream isn't possible, but because they could never see themselves achieving something that big. Not everyone is capable of seeing you for who you truly are. The reality is, most people don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. They take what you say and filter it through their own experiences, their own fears, their own limited mindset. And once they've placed you in a category, it's nearly impossible to break free from it in their eyes. Even if you grow, even if you change, even if you prove them wrong, some people will always hold on to the first impression they had of you. So why give them more than they need to know? Why hand over the details of your life to people who may not handle them with care? There's wisdom in keeping certain things to yourself. There's protection in maintaining a level of privacy. It's not about being secretive. It's about being smart. It's about knowing that not everyone is meant to have access to the most personal parts of your life. You don't owe the world an explanation for everything you do. You don't have to justify your choices to people who were never meant to understand your journey in the first place. Some people will judge you no matter what, whether you stay quiet or speak out, whether you succeed or struggle, whether you follow the crowd or take your own.